guys, welcome to Love in the Womb YouTube channel. Here I have my husband Eric. So today we're going to discuss I'm gonna ask him some questions about my pregnancy journey. Ready?
Sure.
Okay, how do you think I would describe pregnancy?
How do I think you would describe? It's a bittersweet experience.
Bittersweet?
Bittersweet, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You would like me to elaborate a little more? Or
Mm-hmm.
bitter with respect to the transition period of a woman turning into a mother, with respect to the entire holistic body, mind, soul, physical fatigue that tend to take place, that tend to trigger a lot of, I would say, unforeseen circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
Unforeseen circumstances because your mind all over the place, your body not responding how it normally be. But that is more or less the bitter part of it. For the sweet, I would say, is with respect to being able to fulfill a motherly duty with respect to conceiving. Is that your body is actually functioning how, quote unquote, based on science, how your body is supposed to function. So other than not having that internal and external bliss of conceiving a child and seeing what the joys and wonder and magic that this child could bring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll elaborate on that. That's pretty accurate. I would say that pregnancy has been, I call it a beautiful nightmare just because of how it's truly a gift to be able to carry life, but at the same time, your body changes, your mind is changing. There's certain things that you're thinking about that you've never thought about before. There's certain things that you're experiencing that you never thought that you would be experiencing. Stuff that you're probably eating that you normally don't eat, or you might not be eating at all. So it definitely takes a huge toll on you mentally and physically, but it's very rewarding to be able to carry it out and still be able to wake up on a day-to-day basis, especially feeling like you're suffering. For some people, they don't feel like that, but the first trimester can have you feel like you're suffering every day, just because you're just not used to what you're going through, and to be able to kind of get through that patch and then bring life forward is like truly amazing. I'll go to my next question. All right, what was my most annoying pregnant symptom?
That's for you or for me? For me?
Yeah, what did you think was annoying to you?
What was the most annoying symptom? I have a big tolerance for a lot of ish. That could be a scenario.
Yeah, sure.
I would say I was when it had the I don't know if it's a miscommunication, if it was a falling out between you and my younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
That was the biggest for me, because is that you all are persons that I hold close to my heart, and I try my best, well I would think so, that I try my utmost best to make sure that you all are somewhat on good terms despite of different outlook on life.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like that would be it, really, the biggest or the annoying chapter with respect to it. Had a slight little, I wouldn't really say bickering, but you all wasn't on the best of terms. So that was the biggest for me.
And that was that the
Well, I had other falling out
okay,
with respect to the music and
music. Okay, so let me just elaborate a little bit on that, guys. Let me just elaborate. Okay, that was my first trimester, right? So really quick, first trimester going into, it was the first, let me make that face. The first trimester going into like the second, I would say, around that time. Or actually, I just found out. Most people didn't know that I was pregnant, and it was just a lot going on, a lot lot of traffic at that time, but a lot of people didn't know, right? Okay, so I was also vomiting a lot, nauseous, loss of appetite. So there
And I was hiding that too.
So I was
even
hiding
the
that
house
too.
didn't even know.
Right, exactly. So exactly, yeah. So his parents didn't know. Wait, at that time? No, I don't, or they might have known. I'm not sure. But at one point, a lot of people didn't know that I was pregnant. So it's hard to kind of keep that in a house where like everyone is so close and then there's a lot going on. For those who are into astrology, I am. You know that Sagittarius, such as my brother-in-law, they do not care. They do what they want when they want. So that, I guess that was my person that I kind of stuck onto, that was just really grinding my gears. And it was, honestly, pregnancy just allows you to kind of, everything is heightened. So certain things that would just annoy you, they just annoy you even more. So yeah, but I guess what are brothers for, right? Next question. What was your favorite part about this journey?
My favorite was actually being part of the delivery. Now taken away from that entire experience was mind-blowing. No matter what documentary, well, for me, that I could watch, no matter how much Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp feeds we probably got, because we were sharing a lot of information back and forth with respect to the delivery itself, with respect to water birth, breech, the whole 9 yards. Just trying to get mentally prepared as a new dad. Actually being there, touching, well, I would use the basic terms, touching, tasting, feeling on a different level. It was more or less necessary. I would say necessary for me as a young man and a growth to respect any mother, period, based on what they have to go through within those labor or prior to labor, the anxiety, the drugs, well, I'm calling it drugs, meaning if it is you were medicated for whatever reason, if it is you are diabetic, if it wasn't diabetic, with respect to synchronized registered nurses and the doctors and information, it was so much that one person, it literally was like this ping pong game is like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and that could somewhat cluster anyone's judgment in a critical moment, because it can go left in a matter of seconds. And being from the Caribbean is that, again, I wasn't never involved or part of any birth or giving birth or anything. So is that coming across here to America, seeing how they are very unique and synchronized, however, is that it still has historical results showing you that being coming from my race is that it's Tag War 2. So is that despite you can be healthy as a mother, is that you can still have or still experience worse or going into death scenarios. So is that having that into my momentum or into my mental is that it was very tough. However, but just trying my utmost best to support as best as I could, whether if it's to hold the leg, if it's to rub the hand, if it's to consult with our doula, right? Shout out to her, by the way. So really and truly is that was a moment that I would say is necessary for any young man who is active in the child mom, the wife, or whoever's life, is that to actually see that and experience that pushing that is you. For me, well, I could just speak for me, is that you would get a sense of greater appreciation for the capabilities of a woman. And that was, that's me,
So that, I feel like I did my job, because I did a part of this whole experience. I wanted to make sure that he felt included. That's something that he likes. I can say he likes to feel a part of everything.
Of course I am.
So I wanted him to feel included because I feel like during this journey, you don't really hear too much about the men, and how important they are during this experience. I know that when I first found out that I was pregnant, all I wanted was my mother and all I wanted was him. So, right? So for some, you just don't realize until you're experiencing it how important your partner is to be there to kind of hold your hand through it and kind of just remind you sometimes that you're not going crazy when you feel like you might be going crazy.
Sure.
And and then also just from the little things with the baby showers, I noticed too with like baby showers, they'll only, depending on if you have a unisex shower or not, but I do feel like more men should be included in baby showers. That's just my opinion.
I agree with that as well too.
But you don't really see it as much. I have read too that some people do gender reveals instead. Do gender reveals so that they can have the men there as well. And then they'll just do a shower and then they'll only have like just women there. But I really feel like they made this happen too, so they should be a part of it. Everything tends to just fall on the women most of the time, but then can you blame society for that because you kind of just leave the fathers out of the preparation for it? That kind of, to me, that's just how I feel. So I just wanted to make sure that he was really involved, and this is why he knows a lot about birth, right? And then just from me studying when I was studying to becoming a doula, I was always sending him information.
Yes, you will. And he was questioning me like if it is as well as final exams.
I was. Yeah, so I was, and my mom too. So I was sending a lot of different vaginas come births.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, next question. How has pregnancy changed me?
I would say based on the healing process after the birth, your parenting skill has heightened. I wouldn't really say parenting, it's just you're observing more, you pay attention to, I wouldn't really say fine details, but it's just, I don't know if it's a mother thing, but like, it's like, don't do that, don't do this, no, don't put that here, so I would say that it kind of does make it increase your awareness with respect to the objects that we may not have paid attention to that could be a hazard to us. So I would say that is because you were, to me, you were always a nurturer, always a mother at heart. So that it wasn't really much of a big difference, but that particular chapter, I would say, has increased tremendously.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like that's one of my annoying things, but it's just like sometimes I feel like I play worst case scenarios in my head, and you want to check to make sure the baby's breathing, and you want to just check like little things. It's kind of like, I don't know if it's just paranoia, but it's our first time, my first time, so I'm more, I guess, meticulous with certain things, but that's just me. I just try to be cautious. I just want to make sure everything is okay. That's all. And this one likes to test the waters too.
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
All right. Next question. What is something men should know more about when it comes to pregnancy?
The one I would say is a couple. So that's kind of break down. One is respect to what your significant other is experiencing, because sometimes we tend to downplay pain. We tend to downplay diet. Pay close attention to that, because these are contributing factors that could make you or break you with respect to your delivery. Pay attention to if you're testing whatever the doctors tell you to test, whether it be pressure, sugar, test it literally. That's test it, because I mean sometimes the information may or may not apply to you. However, you wouldn't want it to be where it had applied to you and you didn't take the preventative measures that were put in place for worst case scenarios. Also, pay attention to your spouse, how she's responding to certain things, because it is I would say it is an extreme emotional journey that could throw off her mental capacity on a daily basis. So those are some of the contributing factors that I would say that as the support party, pay attention to those. So it may make the journey a little easier and could eliminate any element of surprises.
Okay. To elaborate on that, there can be moments, and I would say myself, there could be moments where I would cry, I would wipe my tears, and then walk in a room like nothing has happened. So that it is important to kind of like really be in tune with your partner and make sure that everything is okay. Sometimes it might be hard to tell, but I think that was like a main thing, because a lot of people don't really understand vulnerability, and sometimes it's the people that are closest to you that kind of just feel like everything is okay because it looks okay, and that's not the case. So everyone wears pain differently.
Yeah. So
yeah, I think that's a big thing. Just because it's not visible doesn't mean that an issue isn't inside.
Yep.
Okay. How important do you feel a man's role is when it comes to this whole journey, like being a part of this? Like, because there's a lot of people that don't really, or even just having someone to kind of fulfill that role, like a single mother.
In a short is that I do believe my creator doesn't make any mistakes. So the fact that he have placed, regardless of how much genders they may want to put, he had placed a man and a woman. So is that regardless of science, regardless of friction, regardless of beliefs, is that one can go into the other if it's the same. So it's like a plus and a minus, or a minus and a minus. You know, so that I say that to say this. It's just as important it is for a woman. The woman can bring the baby without the man. So the fact that that was needed or necessary for the pregnancy to take place, I would say is just as 100% needed to go in for both parties. So it was, I don't know if it is I could articulate it any differently, is that that's need to be there, finish off, because is that sometimes is that later down in life you will realize what are the outcomes of having absent parties. Is that it may be they would function, but they may not function to the best of their ability. You would know when something is missing, or the reason why someone is thinking like this because of the lack of something. So prevent the lack of anything is try your utmost best. Say try, because not every situation may be ideal, but the fact that it took two hands to clap in order to bring this forward, regardless of how good or intimate the act was, is that it needed the two parties. Need. Yeah.
That's gonna be a goofball. Yeah. That is true. Not every woman is fortunate to have a partner along the journey. Maybe something may have happened, might have been a one-night stand or something, whatever the case may be, or an unfortunate circumstance.
Yeah. But we're speaking on the circumstances that is ideal.
That are ideal, yeah. But if that person is absent in your life, I think that you could try your best to kind of have someone fulfill that void.
Yeah.
Because despite as I feel like as women, we kind of we're just kind of made for survival, so we'll just do what we have to do. But if you don't have to, or if you have someone that can help you through it, I think you should definitely do it. Because I always felt like, oh, you know, if I had to do this alone, then I would do it alone. But it's not really ideal to do alone.
Humblest opinion again. I do believe that the Creator had placed us as in this realm to be alone. So He knew it would have a weakness and strength, and the reason why it's 1 and 2, 2 and 1, or however is that. You know, is that despite of your strengths, that you have your weakness, and that is where the other person could pick up.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And so, yeah.
I agree. All right, and this is the last and final question. How has this journey prepared you as a father?
This journey prepared me. To me, that humblest opinion, I would think I would ever be prepared. The reason I say I would never be prepared is because there's always change. So that with change, you would either have to adapt or learn how to deal with the change. So right now we're dealing with the newborn phase. So is that asleep? One is just breaking it down into sub-factors or subcategories. Subcategories is that she went from just taking 1 ml within a matter of hours or 2 days. She went to 1 ml to 2 or 3, 4 mls, and it has been fluctuating since. Additionally to that is that her sleeping patterns have changed. So I mean, and this is just the newborn phase, whereas the noise, let's call it the sensory effect, is that her noises are changing. With respect to, you might take that as a cue, right? She's hungry, right now she's just restless, or probably she have a wet diaper. So is that my humblest opinion is that to me you would never be ready until you're actually in it. So is that despite of well, I had a lot of good kids, so is that I would think that, you know, the contribution factors that me babysitting them had contributed. Absolutely not. Is that, yes, I would say, you know, it probably was good because, you know, you're familiar with the feeding or whatever, but you actually being in the scenario dealing with your own, is that her or his pattern isn't the same as the previous patterns you have dealt with. So is that with that is that I'm always constantly learning. So is that I can't really say genuinely or holistically that I was ready or it has changed me. No, is that you're always learning. So is that okay, so I have to adapt. And with that is that we are in an environment where information just is at our fingertips. So is that a lot of old teachings wasn't the right teachings. And again, we keep seeing that based on even sleeping patterns, is that don't place her on her belly for too long. It had a playtime, you know. So it had a lot of things that were practiced, I would say, in the Caribbean, you know, because it isn't ideal with respect to the living conditions and environment that my daughter is in now. So I would say you would be ready when in. So you would constantly keep learning and don't deprive or defeat yourself as though that if for some strange reason you didn't get it right, is that, you know, God was fortunate enough to keep blessing us with more time, more days, and, you know, to be like, yeah, well, we try this, try something else. This time, so, you know, well, because it is changing, even with the clothes. She's not even fitting in newborns anymore, you know, so she's now a month, but she already fitting in 3 months clothes. So it's that, you know, despite of how much preparation was there, that I would say is that for me, I wasn't really ready, but I would keep learning as the patterns or the scenarios come.
Okay. Well, I feel like, well, that is true. You can never be prepared for this journey. But I do feel like Eric has always been, he just always has that father. He's always been like that father figure in many people's lives. So I knew that he would be an excellent father. I always knew it just from the things that he would say. And I definitely felt like besides him being a great father, he would definitely be a great father to a little girl.
And
I didn't even know.
That's why I'm testing the waters to see how she responding at this age.
yeah, I was like, yeah, she's gonna learn so much from him and how to be treated, and the things that are how a man, eventually one day should treat her, and certain things that she doesn't have to tolerate from people.
Yep.
Because she'll learn it from him firsthand. So
yep.
I'm happy that we ended up doing a surprise delivery.
It was a surprise. Even that and all he wasn't even prepared for.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was something I always wanted to do, and I was really happy that he was okay with us carrying through without knowing the gender.
Yeah.
And but I'm happy that he got his girl. That's it. So yeah. But thank you guys for tuning in. And we hope to give you guys more.